The rain hammered down like God's own judgment, turning the cracked sidewalk into a river of regret. And there I was, Alexander Hayes, 28 years old, screaming at the top of my lungs into the storm. You promised me forever. Matt, was that just another goddamn lie? Matthew's eyes, those storm-gray eyes I drowned in since we were kids, shattered like the bottle of cheap bourbon he'd just hurled against the brick wall of our old high school, now a ghost of faded glory under the relentless Pacific Northwest downpour. And as the shards glittered like broken promises at our feet, he whispered the words that gutted me worse than any knife. I never meant to trade your heart for my silence, Alex. But secrets, they eat you alive. I remember the exact moment it all began. Not with fireworks or some rom-com meet-cute, but with a juice box and a secret that tasted like forbidden fruit. It was the summer of 2003, in the sticky heat of a Seattle suburb playground, where the air hung heavy with the scent of damp evergreens and barbecue smoke from distant backyards. I was 8, scrawny as a stray cat, with freckles that made me look like I'd been peppered by buckshot, and a backpack full of books because even then, stories were my armor against the world. My mom had just dropped me off at recess, her Chevy Impala coughing like it had one foot in the grave, and I wandered to the edge of the blacktop, away from the shrieking horde of kids chasing kickballs like they were fleeing the apocalypse. That's when he appeared, Matt Riley, all golden curls and gap-toothed grin, like he'd stepped out of one of those Norman Rockwell paintings my grandma hoarded. He was the new kid, fresh from some podunk town in Oregon, his sneakers caked in mud from the hike up I-5. He clutched a Capri Sun pouch like it was Excalibur, the straw bent at a defiant angle. "Hey," he said, plopping down on the splintered picnic bench beside me, not waiting for an invitation. "You look like you're hiding from aliens. Want a trade?" I blinked up at him, my comic book, some dog-eared Spider-Man issue, slipping from my fingers. Trade? Kids traded stickers, Pokemon cards, maybe a bruised apple if you were desperate. But this kid, with his freckle-dusted nose and eyes that sparkled like the Puget Sound on a rare sunny day, was offering something real. "Trade what?" I mumbled, my voice cracking like thin ice, because talking to strangers felt like stepping off a cliff. He held up the juice box, the pouch bulging with tropical punch that promised escape from the ordinary. "This for your secret." His grin widened, conspiratorial, like we were already in on some grand heist. I froze. Secrets weren't things you traded. They were burdens you buried, like the one gnawing at my gut, the reason I flinched when the other boys wrestled too close, the way my stomach flipped when Dad's buddy from the force clapped me on the back a little too hard. I wasn't like them. I knew it, even if I didn't have the words. Mom said it was just being sensitive, but at 8, sensitive felt like a curse. Yet there was something in Matt's gaze, unguarded and fierce, that made me want to crack open. "What makes you think I got a secret?" I challenged, snatching back my comic and hugging it to my chest. He shrugged, popping the straw into the pouch with a wet slurp. "Everyone's got one. Mine's that I hate football. Dad says it's un-American, but I'd rather draw dragons than throw a pigskin." He sucked down a swig, then thrust it toward me. "Your turn." I hesitated, the playground noise fading to a distant roar. "What the hell?" I think boys are prettier than girls," I blurted, the words tumbling out like they'd been caged too long. My cheeks burned hotter than the August asphalt. "There." I said it. The secret that made me watch the older boys at the community pool, their lithe bodies slicing through the chlorine haze, while the girls giggled about cooties. Matt didn't flinch. didn't laugh. He just nodded, like I'd confessed to preferring pizza over burgers, and shoved the juice box into my hand. Cool. My dragon's got wings like a boy's smile, sharp and free. Then he leaned in, his breath strawberry sweet from the pouch. Now we're even. Pals? Pals. The word wrapped around me like a flannel shirt on a chilly dawn. From that day, we were inseparable, two misfits stitched together by strawberry nectar and whispered confessions. Matt's family had fled Portland after his folks split. His dad, a burly ex-logger with a temper like a chainsaw, dragged him north for a fresh start, in a duplex that smelled of stale beer and regret. My own home was a powder keg. Mom waitressing double shifts at the diner to keep the lights on, Dad buried in his cop uniform and the ghosts of unsolved cases. But with Matt, the world sharpened into focus. We'd bike the winding paths of Discovery Park, dodging routes like they were landmines, racing to the beach where the Salish Sea crashed against driftwood fortresses we'd build from scavenged planks. By 10, our secrets had evolved into rituals. We'd hole up in the Rylus cluttered garage, surrounded by half-finished birdhouses and oil-stained tarps, trading not just juice boxes but sketches. His dragons breathing fire across notebook pages, my superheroes with capes that fluttered like hidden flags. "This one's you," he'd say, pointing to a knight with my exact hazel eyes, sword raised against a horde of shadowed beasts. "Unbreakable," I'd blush, tracing the lines, wondering if he saw the truth I was starting to grasp, that my heart raced not for the damsels in distress, but for the knight himself. School was our battlefield. 5th grade at Roosevelt Elementary, where the halls echoed with the slam of lockers and the hiss of fluorescent lights, turned us into outcasts by association. Matt, with his artist's soul and aversion to team sports, got shoved into the ferry, been quick, kids chanting "Riley's a girly," while pelting him with eraser shavings. I fight back, all elbows and fury, earning black eyes that Mom dabbed with frozen peas, muttering about boys being boys. But deep down, I knew it was more. When Tommy Hargrove cornered Matt behind the gym, grinding his face into the chain-link fence for daring to draw hearts around the class crush's name. Turns out, it was a boy's. I lost it. Punched Tommy square in the nose, blood spraying like cherry Kool-Aid. Suspension followed, 2 weeks of awkward silences at home. But Matt, he slipped a note under my window that night. "You traded your knuckles for my dignity." My hero. Forever, pals. Forever. That word lodged in my chest like a hook, pulling tighter with each passing year. Puberty hit us like a freight train barreling through the Cascades. Awkward limbs, voices cracking like dry timber, and hormones that turned every glance into a spark. By 13, we were thick as thieves in the underbelly of adolescence, sneaking into R-rated movies at the Regal in downtown Seattle, sharing a bucket of popcorn laced with pilfered Twizzlers. The summer of 2008, we camped in my backyard, the tent a sagging nylon kingdom under the stars. Mosquitoes whined like tiny demons, but we didn't care, sprawled on sleeping bags with flashlights carving shadows on the canvas. "Tell me another secret," Matt murmured, his voice low, the kind that vibrated through the humid air. His face was inches from mine, lit gold by the beam, curls tousled from the day's adventures, hiking Rattlesnake Ledge, where we'd screamed obscenities at the valley below to hear them echo back. I swallowed, heart thundering louder than the distant freight trains rattling through the industrial yards. I dream about kissing someone. Like a guy. The admission hung there, heavy as the dew on the grass. I'd woken that morning from a dream where Matt's lips brushed mine, soft as sea foam, and it terrified me. What if it ruined us? What if he bolted? He was quiet so long I thought I'd shattered everything. Then, slowly, he reached out, his fingers brushing my wrist, electric, tentative. Me too. And it's always you in mine, Alex. His eyes locked on, vulnerable as a fawn in headlights. We didn't kiss that night. The air was too charged, the world too vast and unforgiving. But we lay there, hands linked like lifelines, the universe narrowing to the rhythm of our breaths sinking under the Big Dippers in different gaze. High school descended like a fog rolling off the Sound. Lincoln High, a sprawling brick behemoth in Capitol Hill, where cliques formed like storm clouds and rumors spread faster than wildfire. We navigated it arm in arm, Matt's sketchbook his shield, my sharp tongue his sword. He bloomed into this lanky Adonis, all lean muscle from pickup basketball he played to spite his dad, and cheekbones that could cut glass. I filled out too, trading freckles for a jawline that turned heads, but inside, I was a live wire, zapping with the fear of being seen. Coming out wasn't an option, not with Dad's precinct buddies cracking jokes about that queer agenda, not with the evangelical kids in youth group preaching fire and brimstone. Yet with Matt, I could breathe. We'd cut class to wander Pike Place Market, dodging fishmongers hurling salmon like Olympians, stealing bites of Ivor's clam chowder from a shared cup. One day, he'd say, leaning against the seawall as ferries cut wakes in the bay, "We'll get outta here. New York, maybe. Or San Francisco. A place where love ain't a four-letter word." His hand would find mine in the crowd, squeezing once, twice code for I see you. I choose you. But cracks spiderwebbed in. Sophomore year, Matt's dad caught him with a dog-eared copy of Giovanni's Room hidden under his mattress. The explosion was biblical. Fists through drywall, slurs that peeled paint. Matt barricaded in his room for a week. I climbed the trellis to his window that night, heart in my throat, and found him curled on the floor, sketchbook shredded like confetti. He called me an abomination, Matt choked, tears carving tracks through the dust on his cheeks. I pulled him into my arms, our first real embrace, bodies fitting like puzzle pieces long lost, and whispered, "You're my everything. We'll run." Together, we did, in stolen moments. Prom night, 2012, we ditched the gym's twinkling farce for the rooftop of an abandoned warehouse in the Soto district, city lights sprawling like a lover's promise. Dressed in thrift store tuxes that smelled of mothballs, we slow danced to a crackling radio, Springsteen crooning Thunder Road, Matt's chin on my shoulder, his heartbeat a drum against mine. "This is us, Alex," he murmured, lips grazing my ear. Real. Raw. We kissed then, under a canopy of smog-veiled stars, tentative at first, then hungry, tongues tasting of cheap punch and pent-up years. It was messy, perfect, the world tilting on its axis. But dawn brings shadows. Senior year, college apps loomed like guillotines. Matt got into UW's art program on a partial scholarship, staying local, close to the fray. I scored a full ride to NYU's film school, Tish whispering dreams of spotlights and scripts. "It's not forever," I promised, packing boxes in my cramped bedroom, posters of Scorsese curling at the edges. "For years. Then we're golden." He nodded, but his eyes, those gray storms, darkened. "What if the city changes you? What if you forget the kid with the juice box?" "Never," I swore, sealing it with a kiss that tasted like goodbye. New York hit me like a subway train at rush hour, relentless, intoxicating, a concrete jungle where dreams fermented in the steam of street vendors' carts. Fall 2012. I stepped off the Amtrak at Penn Station, duffel bag slung over one shoulder, heart a hollow drum echoing Matt's last hug at Seattle-Tacoma. "Call every day," he'd said, voice thick as the fog rolling in off the Olympics. Promised, but the city had other plans. Tish was a whirlwind. Late-night shoots in Washington Square Park, professors dissecting Brokeback Mountain like it was scripture, roommates blasting Jay-Z while I scripted shorts about boys who loved too fiercely and lost. First, we held. Texts flew like carrier pigeons. "Miss your sketches. Drew a dragon today, wings like your laugh." His replies, "NYC treating you right? Don't let the wolves eat you alive." Calls stretched into the witching hour, his voice a tether across time zones, painting pictures of Seattle's gray skies and his latest canvas, a portrait of us, entwined in ethereal light. "It's you and me against the apocalypse," he'd laugh. But there was an undercurrent, a tremor like distant thunder. Then the distance gnawed. Finals crushed me under deadlines. Matt's part-time gig at a Capitol Hill coffee shop bled into all-nighters. Weeks slipped into months. By spring 2013, our calls dwindled to check-ins, texts to emojis, a heart here, a dragon there. I dove into the scene, village parties pulsing with bass, grinder pings lighting up my phone like fireflies. First hookup was a disaster. Some finance bro named Tyler, all abs and no soul, fumbling in a Hell's Kitchen walk-up. Felt like betrayal, even as I chased the high, telling myself it was exploring. But every thrust, every gasp, I closed my eyes and saw Matt's curls, heard his whisper, "Always you." Back home for summer break, Seattle wrapped around me like a damp embrace. Rain-slick streets, the ferry horn moaning across the sound. Matt picked me up at the airport, his old Ford Ranger rattling like bones. And the second I slid into the passenger seat, it was ignition. "God, I missed you," he breathed, pulling me across the console for a kiss that tasted of salt and longing, deep, devouring, hands roaming like they were mapping lost territory. We made up for lost time in fevered bursts. Stolen weekends at his mom's cabin on Whidbey Island, where the Salish Sea lapped at Cedar Shores. We'd hike moss-draped trails, collapse onto flannel blankets, bodies tangling in the dappled light filtering through furs. "This is home," I'd murmur against his neck, tracing the constellation of freckles across his collarbone. He'd arch into me, breath hitching. "You're my compass, Alex." Always pointing true, but shadows lengthened. His dad had mellowed into gruff tolerance, begrudging nods over beers, but the world outside, it bristled. At a UW gallery opening, some prof cornered Matt, slurring about gay agendas in modern art, eyes raking him like he was exhibit fodder. Matt laughed it off later, over greasy fries at Dick's Drive-In, but I saw the flinch, the way his hand tightened on his fork. "It's bullshit," I said, fierce. "We're warriors," he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Warriors get tired, Alex. What if I can't keep fighting? You won't have to alone." I meant it, bone deep. Fall dragged me back east, the ache worse now, like ripping a bandage from raw flesh. This time, the calls resumed with vengeance. Voice memos of him humming folk tunes, me reciting lines from half-baked scripts. But NYU's siren call grew louder. Internships at indie studios, flirtations with collaborators who saw my films as queer cinema gold. Enter Jordan, 22, cinematographer with a Brooklyn edge and a lens that captured vulnerability like poetry. We bonded over late edits in a Astoria basement, his laugh a sparkler in the darkroom haze. One night, after too many IPAs, his hand lingered on my knee. "You're fire, Hayes," he said, lips brushing mine. I pulled back, guilt a lead weight. "Matt." But the kiss happened anyway, soft, exploratory, and in the morning, I buried it. Told myself it was nothing, a city fling. Didn't tell Matt. Didn't want to shatter the fragile thread holding us. By junior year, 2014, the fractures showed. Matt's texts carried weight. Dad's pushing law school. Says art's for dreamers who starve. My replies, screw him. You're a genius. But doubt crept in, insidious as ivy. He started mentioning Jake, a classmate, sculptor with hands like Michelangelo's David, all intensity and shared smokes on the quad. "He's cool," Matt said casually during a call. "Gets the grind." Jealousy coiled in my gut, hot and irrational. "Cool how?" Pressed, voice sharper than intended. A pause, then his laugh forced. "Chill, babe. Just friends." But the seed was planted. I threw myself into Jordan dinners at dive bars in the East Village, shoots in abandoned lofts where his camera framed me in golden hour glow. It was easy, uncomplicated, no oceans between us. Sex was electric, bodies sinking in a rhythm that drowned out the static. Yet every time Jordan whispered, "Stay," I'd flash to Matt's dragon sketches, the juice box packed. Pals. More than pals. Christmas break. I flew home early, surprising him at the airport with a bouquet of wildflowers scavenged from the Pike Place stalls, daisies and lavender, his favorites. He was there, curls windswept, grin splitting wide. "You sneaky bastard," he laughed, crushing me in a hug that smelled of coffee grounds and home. We tumbled into his tiny U-District apartment, a chaos of canvases and takeout boxes, and made love like we were warding off the apocalypse. Slow, then frantic, nails raking backs, gasps echoing off peeling wallpaper. Lying tangled in sheets afterward, his head on my chest, he traced lazy circles on my skin. "Missed this. Missed us." Me too. Guilt surged. Jordan's texts burning a hole in my pocket. "Come back soon?" I deleted them, one by one, vowing silence. But secrets, they fester. Spring brought storm clouds. Matt's scholarship dried up, budget cuts. The dean said, and his dad refused more help. "Get a real job. Ferry boy." Desperation edged his voice on calls. Jake's studio had space, a sublet. "It's temporary," he assured. But photos trickled in, selfies of them welding metal sculptures. Arms slung casual, grins too bright. My own betrayal mirrored back. Jordan and I went official, sort of. "It's New York," I rationalized to my reflection in the subway glass. "Things evolve." Matt sensed it, though. "Who's the ghost in your silences?" he asked one night, voice cracking over the line. "Just stress," I lied. The first fracture. Graduation loomed. 2015, a dual launch. I landed an assistant editor gig at a Tribeca post house. Visions of Sundance dancing in my head. "Matt," he deferred, taking barista shifts to fund a solo exhibit. "Proud of you," I said, boarding the plane home for what I hoped was our recommitment. Instead, the airport reunion was strained, his hug stiff, eyes shadowed. "Congrats, film star," he said, the words laced with something bitter. We drove in silence, rain sheeting the windshield like tears. At his place, I tried to bridge it, kisses trailing fire, hands rediscovering paths. But he pulled back, sitting on the bed's edge, head in hands. Alex, there's someone. The world tilted. What? Jake. It started as nothing, late nights, shared dreams. But it grew. His voice broke, gray eyes pleading. I was lonely. You were a ghost. Betrayal's blade twisted deep. And Jordan, I spat, the name escaping before I could cage it. His face crumpled. Who? The dam burst. Confessions poured. My fling. The lies. The slow erosion of trust across 3,000 miles. We screamed, hurled words like grenades. You left first. You forgot us. Plates shattered against the wall. Echoes of his dad's rage. I stormed out into the downpour, hailing a cab to Mom's, where I curled fetal on the couch, sobbing until dawn. Days blurred into a haze. Texts went unanswered, calls to voicemail. My flight back east was a funeral march, Seattle shrinking in the jet window like a discarded sketch. New York welcomed me with indifferent bustle, horns blaring, steam rising from grates, but inside, I was hollowed out. Jordan tried. Candlelit walks in Central Park, whispers of futures. I nodded, but my scripts turned maudlin, tales of boys trading secrets for heartbreak. Matt reached out once. A single text. I traded your heart for my fear. Forgive? I stared at it for hours, thumb hovering, then deleted. Pride, the great American sin. Summer 2015. His exhibit opening, Dragons and Driftwood, hit the local feeds. Reviews glowed. Riley captures queer longing with raw Americana grit. I watched the live stream from my Astoria shoebox, heart clenching at the sight of him in a button-down, curls tamed, Jake's hand on his lower back. Applause thundered. Toasts rang. He looked free. I messaged, stunning. You did it. His reply, wish you were here. Still pals? Pals. The word stung. A relic. Always. But the wound suppurated. By fall, Jordan and I imploded, his jealousy over the ex boiling over in a Lower East Side bar brawl. Single again, I threw myself into work, editing docs on Stonewall, interning on a Gus Van Sant short. Nights, I'd scroll old photos, us at 10, juice box raised like a chalice. At 16, rooftop dance. At 20, Whidbey sunsets. Love, I realized, wasn't the blaze, it was the embers, glowing through ash. Winter 2016. A script of mine placed in Outfest's lab, a queer coming-of-age flick. Thinly veiled autobiography. Callback. Hayes. This screams Seattle soul. You channeling someone? Everyone I've loved, I said. The panel nodded. Bring that fire to the table, read. Fired up, I booked a red-eye west. Not for closure, for ignition. Landed in Seattle-Tacoma at dawn, fog cloaking the tarmac like a shroud. Rented a beater Civic. Drove the I-5 corridor, evergreens blurring into memory. Capitol Hill. His studio loomed, a converted warehouse, graffiti-tagged and alive with bass from a nearby club. He was there, welding torch hissing, sparks flying like defiant stars. Jake hovered nearby, but Matt's eyes found mine through the plexiglass, widening, then softening. He killed the flame, yanked off gloves, crossed the floor in 3 strides. Alex, words failed. I pulled him into the alcove, rain pattering on the tin roof above. I came for the embers, I said, voice rough. For the kid who traded juice for my truth. His breath hitched, hands framing my face. Calloused? Sure. I broke us. We broke together. Then, no more talk. Lips crashing. A kiss born of tempests, tasting of rust and redemption. Jake slipped out, door clicking soft. The world narrowed to us, bodies pressing urgent against the wall, apologies woven into gasps. We didn't rush back to what was too many shards to sweep first. That night, after the studio's heat cooled, we walked the rain-slick alleys of Capitol Hill, neon from dive bars painting our faces in electric hues. Pine Box, the goth joint with its coffin tables, called us in. We claimed a corner booth, IPAs sweating condensation like guilty confessions. Tell me everything, Matt said, his knee bumping mine under the scarred oak, a deliberate anchor. So I did. Jordan's allure, the easy lust that masked my ache, the lies that snowballed until I couldn't see the boy who'd traded secrets on a playground bench. I thought distance made it okay, I admitted, peeling the label from my bottle, shreds like my excuses. But it just made me a coward. He nodded, gray eyes steady. No judgment, just the weight of his own unraveling. Jake had been a bomb, he confessed. Shared studios, late-night rants over cheap red about the art world's gatekeepers. He saw my hunger, Matt said, voice low over the hum of a jukebox crooning the Smiths. But he never saw me, the kid who dreamed of dragons with your eyes. Their fling fizzled fast, more spark than flame, but the guilt lingered. I pushed you away to protect what we had. Stupid. Ha! Poetic, I teased, lacing fingers across the table, public, defiant, the queer pulse of the hill thrumming approval. We laughed then, brittle at first, then real, peals that chased shadows from corners. Last call scattered us to his apartment, where we talked till the sky lightened to pearl. Dreams deferred, fears named, the slow rebuild of trust like piecing a mosaic from dust. Morning brought coffee, strong, black, Seattle style, and a walk to Lake Washington. The path wound through damp ferns, joggers pounding pavement in neon arcs, the water a mirror cracking under wind-whipped ripples. What now? Matt asked, tossing pebbles that skipped like skipped heartbeats. Now, we fight for it. I stopped, turning him to face me, curls wild in the breeze, freckles a map I'd memorized. No more trades. No secrets. Just us. Raw and real. His smile broke, sun-piercing clouds like benediction. Deal. But life, that cruel dramatist, doesn't yield easy acts. My Outfest gig demanded a month in LA, table reads, pitch meetings, the Hollywood grind chewing egos like gum. Go conquer, Matt urged at the gate, kiss lingering salty. I'll hold the fort. Sketch some dragons for your return. I trusted, had to. LA was a mirage. Palm-fringed boulevards, agents in Ray-Bans promising stars. The script evolved, juice box promises. Our story laundered into fiction. Two boys in rainy Northwest, trading innocence for identity. Producers loved the humanistic hook, the betrayal to redemption arc. It's got that moonlight vibe, one said, cigar smoke curling like temptation. Parties followed, rooftop soirees in the hills, where execs eyed me like fresh meat, and a director, Ethan, mid-40s, silver fox with a Sundance pedigree, offered mentorship over mezcal shots. Started innocent. Notes on my draft. Lunches at Roscoe's where chicken and waffles drowned doubts. But Ethan's gaze lingered, appreciative, probing. "You've got fire, kid," he'd say, hand brushing my arm, the touch electric in the cities of Angel's heat. Late one night, post rewrite in his Malibu guest house, waves crashing symphony below, he leaned in. "Let me show you the ropes." His kiss was seasoned, knowing worlds from Matt's earnest fire. I faltered, pulled back. "I'm seeing someone," he chuckled, low. "In this town, everyone's seeing someone. Loosen up, Alex." The script needed his pull. The dream teetered. So I stayed, let the evening blur into touches, his hands mapping my skin like storyboard frames. It wasn't love, just ambition's shadow, but dawn brought nausea, not ecstasy. I texted Matt, "Miss you. LA's a beast." His reply, "Slay it." "Home soon?" Guilt gnawed, sharper than before. I threw myself into revisions, channeling the turmoil. The protagonist's betrayal now laced with self-loathing, a mirror to my fracture. Table read day. The room buzzed. Actors voicing our ghosts. Lines landing like punches. Applause swelled. Ethan clapped my shoulder. Pride paternal. "This is it, Hayes." But victory tasted ash. That night, alone in a WeHo hotel, I called Matt 3 a.m. His time, voice thick with sleep. "Hey, dragon boy." "Alex." Alarm flickered. "Everything okay?" "No." "Yes." "Just needed your voice. Tell me a secret." A beat, then soft, "I love you." Every jagged piece. Tears pricked. "Me too." Hung up before the flood. Back in Seattle by July. The reunion was bomb. Matt at baggage claim. Canvas tote slung. A fresh sketch peeking us. Entwined on a beach. Waves as witnesses. We drove to Golden Gardens. Spread a blanket amid picnickers and frisbee flingers. The sound glittering under rare blue. "Heard about the script," he said, unpacking subs from Sub Pop, turkey clubs, extra mayo. "Proud doesn't cover it." We ate, talked LA, the glitz, the grind skirting Ethan's ghost. But Matt's eyes sharpened over dessert, a pilfered chuo from the market. "Who's the new shadow in your stories?" That kiss scene. Felt lived in, heart stuttered. "Just fiction." He searched my face, then nodded trust, fragile as sea glass. "Okay." August brought ease. Lazy Sundays at his exhibits run. Crowds milling his dragons. Fierce guardians with lovers' eyes. I crashed there, editing on my laptop amid paint fumes. Our nights a tangle of limbs and laughter. "This is sustainable," I murmured one dawn. His head pillowed on my thigh. City stirring below. Us. Here. But September whispered change. UW called Matt back. Full ride reinstated. MFA in visual arts. 2 years, he said over diner hash browns. Grease slick forks clinking. "Then we're footloose." Jealousy flickered, mine, not his. My post-house gig ballooned. Lead editor on a Netflix docuseries. Out west. Profiling queer trailblazers from the ranch to the Rockies. Travel beckoned. Denver. Boise. Portland. "It's my Sundance shot," I said, packing again. "We'll videodate." "Make it work." He smiled, but it wobbled. "Yeah." Dragons wait for no one. The road was relentless. Dusty motels in Montana. Interviews with grizzled activists who spat tobacco and truths. "Love's a revolution," one rancher growled. his husband nodding, calloused hands clasped. Fueled me, but isolation crept, nights scrolling Matt's Insta, him and Jake collaborating on a mural, poses too close. Just art, I chanted, but doubt rooted. October, Boise rap, I surprised him, flight to Seattle, he under the mat. Studio dark, easel cold. Note on the fridge, at Jake's opening. Back late. Love. Opening, heart sank. Paced, rain lashing windows, until headlights sliced the gloom. He stumbled in, buzzed on craft beer, cheeks flushed. Alex, you're early. We collided, kisses sloppy, hands urgent. But as clothes shed, his phone buzzed, Jake. Missed you tonight. Matt silenced it, but the seed sprouted thorns. November, my series premiered, rave reviews in Variety, Sundance invite. Elation surged. I called Matt from the afterparty. Ballroom swirling with champagne flutes. We're going to Park City. You, me, snow-capped peaks. His cheer was muted. Awesome, babe. Listen. Jake's pushing a joint residency. Berlin. 6 months. Berlin. The word echoed like a slammed door. With him. With the collective. But yeah, he's part of it. Hesitation coiled. It's exposure. Galleries there eat up queer Americana. And us. Voice cracked. Party din fading. The sigh. We adapt. Like always. Adapt. The word soured. Fights followed. Accusations flung like paint splatters. You're choosing him again. You're suffocating me with your fears. Slams of doors. Silences thicker than fog. December. I flew to Park City solo. Sundance a blur of panels and pitches. Matt's texts, proud. Sorry. Mine needs space. New Year dawned in isolation. A solo toast in a ski lodge bar. Fireworks bursting over Wasatch Peaks. Resolution. Fight or fold. I chose fight. January 2017. Back in Seattle. I showed up at his studio unannounced. Duffel packed. Ring box burning in my pocket. A simple band. Tungsten etched with a dragon wing. Promise forged in fire. He was there. Canvas half sketched. Eyes lighting like dawn. Alex. Kneeling amid turpentine ghosts. I opened the box. Marry me? Not tomorrow. Not Berlin. Forever. Tears tracked his cheeks. Yes. God. Yes. We celebrated, takeout tie on the floor. Rings glinting as we made promises in the dark. Plans coalesced. My LA. Pilot season gig. His MFA grind. A courthouse wedding postgrad. Humanistic as hell, he joked, tracing my jaw. Two misfits. Trading rings for redemption. But fate, that capricious scribe, had revisions. Spring 2017 bloomed treacherous. Cherry blossoms dusting Capitol Hill like confetti from a cruel parade, while our world teetered on fault lines. Matt's MFA thesis consumed him. A series, secret trades, installations blending found objects, juice boxes yellowed with age. Sketched dragons on vellum, with video loops of shadowy embraces. Critics buzzed early. A poignant queer odyssey. One wrote in The Stranger, but the work dredged ghosts. Late nights. He'd pace the apartment, bourbon in hand, muttering about betrayals as brushstrokes. I come home from editing bays, footage of fractured families blurring into our own history, and find him staring at old photos, us at 12, gap-toothed and golden. This, he'd say, finger tracing the frame, was before the cracks. I pull him close, kisses a poultice, but the ring on his finger felt heavier. A vow under siege. Berlin's siren sang louder. The residency offer formalized. DAAD grant. 6 months in a Kreuzberg warehouse turned artist haven. It's not running, Matt insisted over diner pancakes, syrup pooling like unspoken doubts. It's building. For us, a nest egg. Connections for after. I nodded, fork scraping porcelain. And the collective? Jake's name's all over it. A flinch. Then steady, professional. He's seeing someone, some violinist in Newcombe. Jealousy, that old viper, hissed. But trust was our covenant now. I swallowed it. Go. Shine. I'll hold Seattle. He left in June. Airport farewell, a tear-streaked ritual, hug crushing, kiss desperate, his curls tickling my nose. 6 months. Then Vegas, shotgun wedding, Elvis officiating our chaos. Deal. Watched his gait recede. Heart a stone skipped across the sound. LA. Swallowed me whole, pilot season, a meat grinder of additions and arcs. Echoes of us. My queer dramedy. Greenlit for a table read. Execs crowed about bingeable bromance with teeth. Long days blurred into nights of script tweaks. Takeout burritos in traffic-jammed freeways. Calls with Matt anchored. His voice crackling from Berlin payphones, he shunned Zoom. Called it soulless. Tales of schnitzel stands and graffiti walls. The collective's electric, he'd say. Jake's pushing boundaries. Welded hearts. Shattered. Hearts. Echoed hollow. Metaphor. For the exhibit. Laughter. Then soft. Miss your fire. Alex. Send nudes. I'd oblige. Playful shots. Ring prominent, earning moans that bridged oceans. But silences grew. His updates veered to logistics, train strikes, grant paperwork. Less us. More orbit. July. A care package arrived. Dragon sketch on linen, captioned your wingman. I framed it in my Echo Park rental. A sun-bleached bungalow with lemon trees clawing the stucco. Replied with a video, me in board shorts, toasting with a microbrew. To trades that stick. August. The drift accelerated. Text lagged, his swamped with install. Love ya. Mine missed the chaos. Call soon? A week passed. Then 2. Panic flickered. I messaged Jake's public Insta, stalker much? How's Berlin treating Matt? Crickets. Then, the gut punch. A tagged photo in a gallery feed, secret trades. Redux. Matt mid-install. Brow furrowed in focus. Jake beside him, hand on his waist. Proprietary. Caption. Collaborating with my muse. Berlin beats queer art. Muse. The word eviscerated. I called voicemail. That tinny plea. Texted, saw the pic. Muse? What's that mean? Hours ticked. Reply, misunderstanding. Call tomorrow. Tomorrow became 3 days. When he finally rang. Static-laced. Voice guarded. It's nothing. Jake's dramatic art speak. Bullshit. Fury boiled. You're wearing my ring, Matt. Or is that metaphorical too? Silence. Then fracture. It's complicated. The city's alive. Pushing me to evolve. Evolve away from us? Sobs choked. You traded again. Click. Line dead. The betrayal cascaded. I drowned in work, echoes shooting. Me barking edits from the bay. Actors flinching at my edge. Nights. Bourbon burned paths to nowhere. Ethan's number resurfacing like a bad sequel. Heard about the pilot, his text purred. Drinks? Mentor moment. I went. His WeHo loft. Skyline twinkling indifferent. Mezcal flowing loose. You're wasted on that distance, he murmured, lips on my neck. I let him hate-fueled, a middle finger to Berlin. Sex was mechanical, his groans a dirge, post-coitus, shame crashed like a wave. This isn't me, I gasped, fleeing to the balcony, city sprawl mocking my unravel. Matt's next call was a minefield. I saw Ethan's post, like on your script share, accusation dripped. Jealous, I snarled. Pot, kettle, it escalated slurs at the collective. Jake's influence, my fling with Ethan, the lies we'd both spun. We're poison, he whispered, broken. Maybe Berlin's showing me that. Don't, plea raw. Come home. Fix us. I can't. Not yet. Pause. Dagger. The ring. It's too heavy. He hung up. I shattered. A vase from the rental's shelf. Shards glittering like our pact. Mom called next day. Voice quaver. Your dad's sick. Alex. Liver. The booze caught up. Home. Seattle in September haze. Hospital reek of antiseptic and regret. Dad. Shrunken in the bed. Tubes snaking like accusations. Knew about you, he rasped. Eyes watery. The gay thing. Hoped it'd make you stronger than me. Tears stung. It did. Mom hovered. Flannel armor frayed. He's asking for stories. Your films. I stayed. Editing on my laptop in the waiting room. Screening clips for him. Echoes dailies. Our fractured mirror. Matt texted, heard about your dad. Flying in. He did, haggard from the red eye. Curls unkempt. Ring absent. Hug at the gate. Bone crush. No kiss. I'm here, he said simply. We tag-teamed vigils. Me reading scripts aloud. Him sketching Dad's gnarled hands. Portraits of endurance. One night, cafeteria coffee bitter as bile. Matt confessed, Jake and I. It reignited. The art, the fire. But it's not love. Not like us. Finish soft. He nodded, eyes glistening. I panicked. The distance, the dreams, it felt like drowning. Berlin was air. Forgive me, Ethan? Whispered. Forgiven. If you forgive. We did in stolen moments. Hands brushing in hallways. The old spark flickering. Dad rallied brief. Laughed at a scene where lovers reconciled under rain. And passed in October's chill. Hand in mine. Mom's prayers a murmur. Funeral was humanist grit. Backyard gathering. Potluck spread. Eulogies laced with Dad's cocktails and hidden kindnesses. Matt spoke. He taught Alex strength. And strength. That's love's backbone. Gray eyes met mine across the fire pit. Promise rekindled. But closure? Elusive. Berlin pulled, exhibit deadline unyielding. 2 months, he vowed. Packing in our old apartment, I'd sublet back. Then wedding. No trades. I nodded. Kiss ceiling. No secrets. He left. I buried myself in Echo's post. LA. Calling for reshoots. November. Premiere loomed, AFI Fest. Buzz building. Matt's feeds. Berlin nights. Dragons wrought in steel. Jake's shadow fading. Texts warmed. Can't wait for vows. Sketching our cake, dragon topper. Hope bloomed fragile. Then, the call Thanksgiving Eve. Me in traffic. Bluetooth crackling. Gallery curator. Voice clipped. Tragic about Riley. Heart attack during install. Overworked. They say. World imploded. Tires screeched. Horns blared. What? No. Autopsy pending. But he named you beneficiary. The work. The space. I flew blind LAX to Berlin. Grief a shroud. Landed to rain-slick Tegel. Cab to the warehouse. Yellow tape. Gawkers murmuring. Jake met me at the door. Hollow-eyed. Violinist's hand on his arm. Alex. He collapsed mid-weld. Talking about you. Inside. The exhibit waited. Secret trades. Eternal. Juice box encased in lucite. Our photo projected on walls. Dragons encircling a central piece. 2 rings. Fused in molten silver. Inscription etched. Before I knew you. Sobs racked. Jake steadied. Then released. He loved you. Fiercely. Funeral was sparse, artists in black. Beer under linden trees shedding gold. I spoke. Voice fracturing. He traded a juice box for my secret. And in return, gave me his heart, whole, unbroken. Eulogy ended in rain. Fitting requiem. Back in Seattle, alone in the studio, his bequest, I unpacked the crates, canvases of us, fierce and tender. Sat amid them, fingers tracing lines, realizing love wasn't the trade, it was the enduring flame. Winter 2017 settled like ash over Seattle. The city a monochrome elegy. Grays bleeding into whites. Evergreens bowed under frost's indifferent weight. I moved into Matt's studio full-time. The lease a lifeline he'd inked months prior. Subletting his vision. Walls scarred by sparks. Floors gritty with pigment. It smelled of him, linseed oil and sandalwood soap, and in the quiet hours, I'd lie on the futon, staring at the exposed beams, replaying his laugh echoing off brick. Grief wasn't a wave. It was the tide, relentless, carving canyons where certainty once stood. Mom checked in daily, her voice a buoy through the fog. Come for dinner, Alex. Turkey tetrazzini, your dad's recipe. I go. Fork poke the casserole. Share snippets of the exhibit I'd shipped back. Dragons now guardians in my living room. Juice box on the mantel like a talisman. He'd want you to keep creating, she'd say, patting my hand, her own ring glinting, a reminder of vows kept through cop shifts and chemo scares. Work pulled me upright. Echoes of Us dropped on streaming New Year's Day 2018. A quiet splash, solid reviews in IndieWire. Hayes captures the ache of queer longevity with unflinching grace. Niche queer feeds hailing it, the anti-bromance. Viewers trickled, DMs pouring in. This is my Matt. Thank you. Sundance follow-up. A short. Ember trades. Culled from his sketches and my footage, grainy Super 8 of us biking Discovery Park. Overlaid with his voice memos, you're my compass. Park City in January was catharsis wrapped in snowdrifts. Festival frenzy. Panels on grief in queer narratives. I screened Ember. House-packed. Silence thick as the applause that shattered it. Q&A. A juror teared up. It's humanistic devastation. Love as the scar that heals. Post-premiere party. Fire pits crackling on Main Street. I wandered alone. Bourbon warming palms. When Ethan appeared, ghost from L.A. Hayes. Salt and pepper suave in a parka. Alex. Hug awkward. Genuine. The short. Gutted me. Matt was lucky. Was I? Bitter sip. We talked, his directing slump. My hollow victory. Betrayal's a teacher, he said. Ice kind. Makes the real ones shine brighter. I nodded, the ring fusion sculpture heavy in my pocket, Berlin relic, carried like penance. Too late for shine. Not if you let it. Dawn flight home. Resolve hardened. Honor him. Live the trade. Spring thawed the city. Crocuses pushing through mulch. Fairies slicing blue again. I dove into a feature. Juice box eternal. Docu-fiction hybrid. Matt's life woven with mine. Interviews with his mom. Tears over his childhood sketches. Jake voice cracking. He was light, man. Pure. Even my dad's old partner from the force. Gruff. Kid had heart. Like his boy. Funding trickled, Kickstarter Queer Angels. A grant from XAI's arts arm. Ironic. Machines funding human ache. Filming was excavation. Whidbey cabin. Where we'd first tangled sheets. The playground bench. Now weathered splinter. Berlin warehouse. Empty but echoing. On location in Kreuzberg. June 2018. I stood where he'd fallen. Welder's mask askew on the floor. Prop for the reenactment. But visceral. Actor in his likeness paused. Torch unlit. How'd you do it? Love like that. Traded secrets. I murmured. And never looked back. Rap party in a Prenzlauer Berg Biergarten. Oompa brass and foam-frothed steins. Jake raised a glass. To Matt, the muse who traded us all for truth. Laughter mingled tears. I slipped away. To the spree's edge. Water black as memory. Phone buzzed. Mom. Screening tonight? Dad's old crew coming. Home by July. Edit Bay a cocoon. The film shaped. Non-linear. Flashbacks bleeding into now. Our hook. Rain-soaked scream at the high school. The juice box pivot. Betrayals as montages of shattered glass and shadowed beds. Climax. The fused rings. Voiceover mine. Love came before I knew him. In the secret I traded. The heart he claimed. Test screenings gutted. Friends weeping. One exec from Netflix poaching echoes. Murmuring. This is Oscar bait. Human as hell. October premiere. TIFF red carpet a blur. Matt's dragon pin on my lapel. Standing ovation stretched eternal. Post-screen. A fan gripped my arm. He lives in this. Thank you for the forever. After party. Toronto's skyline a jagged crown. I met Alexander. Wait. No. A journalist named Alex. Irony's jest. Sharp wit and hazel eyes mirroring mine. We talked film. Loss. His hand brushed mine over gin, spark. Not blaze. Coffee? He ventured. Not yet, I said. Gentle. Embers first. Back in Seattle. November 2018. Anniversary of the call. I lit a fire in the studio. Dragons flickering gold. Unpacked the last crate. His journal. Entries scrawled fierce. Alex is my north. Even when I stray. Final page. If I go first. No, the trade was worth every secret. Love you eternal. Tears fell. But so did resolve. Juice box hit festivals. Sundance acquisition. Emmys nod for doc series tie-in. Awards chatter buzzed. But the real win. Letters. Teens trading their coming-out tales. Inspired. Your story gave me words. One wrote. Humanistic ripple. Pain transmuted to bridge. 1 year on. December 2018. I stood at the playground. Bench restored. Plaque-eyed commissioned. For Matt Riley. Trader of secrets. Keeper of hearts. 1995 to 2017. Snow dusted the swings. Chains creaking soft. Kneeling. I placed a juice box, tropical punch, straw bent defiant, and whispered, "Pals forever." Wind stirred. A curl of paper fluttered from the bench. Sketch. Fresh as dawn. Two boys. Hands linked. Dragons wheeling overhead. Anonymous gift? Or ghost grace? Didn't matter. Pocketed it. Walked into the dusk. City lights winking like promises kept. Love, I knew now, wasn't the hook, it was the line. Cast wide. Reeling in the light. And in that trade, we'd caught eternity.